fam.news.
1,000 times more gel than a traditional mattress. Yes, you heard that right. Tara Youngblood, the visionary founder of Geli, has taken customization, cooling, and solving common sleep struggles to a whole new level with her latest line of products. You've seen her on the main stage at Sleep Summit and far beyond. She's here with us today, and the Fam Podcast starts right now. Hey, are you a mattress retailer looking to supercharge your business? Introducing Podium, your secret weapon. I use it, I'm a huge fan of it, and with Podium's AI-powered lead conversion, you can engage with customers in seconds via text, making it feel like they're talking to a friend. But hey, that's just the beginning. Podium offers texting, payments, reviews, website chat, and more, all in one place. You've got to be the most responsive retailer to help customers solve those sleep problems in the moment. Harness the power of Podium today and start growing your business. Visit podium.com right now to learn more.
Welcome to the Fam Podcast with Mark Kinsley. This is where the best in the bedding business get even better.
Welcome to the Fam Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kinsley. Tara Youngblood, you are the co-founder of the all-new Geli Sleep. You've given TED Talks. You're an author. You're a sleep coach. You hold more than 40 patents, many of which are in the sleep product space. I'm so honored to have you. Tara, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
What did I miss there? I know I gave you a little bit of an intro, and I know it's sometimes hard to brag on yourself, but tell us about you for the people that don't know.
Yeah, I am the ultimate sleep geek. I love everything about sleep. I've been the coach for the Cincinnati Reds. I've been consulted on for Department of Defense, given talks at Army bases, worked with Allison Breger on sort of soldier readiness, and did a whole bunch of different sleep studies for menopausal women to just the average Joe on how to make them sleep better. And so our latest product is really all about how to get people better sleep with no effort, because who wants to work hard at sleep?
Raising my hand right here. I don't want to work hard. Before we go into Geli Sleep and talking about technology and the innovations that you've unlocked, you've got a storied history, obviously, with more than 40 patents, many of which are in the sleep space. But you said something about soldier readiness. What was that all about, and what kind of results did you see? I'm very fascinated with the human performance side of things, so got to dig into that one.
Yeah, so that was with my previous company that Todd and I co-founded that one as well. Todd, my husband and co-founder. It was really a temperature adjustment for sleep. We were able to use temperature, which actually gets super geeky into sleep fast, but it turns out temperature has a really unique role in how it talks to your brain, certainly when it comes to sleep. And so when you can adjust temperature dynamically throughout the night, you can actually reduce the amount of time someone needs to sleep. So if you picture your go bag of your soldier, SEAL, special teams, whatever that team is, it's about to take off and do some amazing work around the globe. They have only a few hours in the rack before they'll set off on whatever that mission is, sometimes as little as 4 hours. And, you know, my work with the military has shown that at 4 hours, the accuracy on any sort of shooting or any sort of decision making is very low, actually. And so how do we take that 4 hours and increase from a very low baseline of accuracy and decision making, and we give them the equivalent of a 6 to 8 hour sleep with the same amount of time in the rack as 4 hours. And really a lot of that has to do with better deep sleep, better quality of sleep, better resting, putting a package together similar I did for the Cincinnati Reds, who, when, you know, a baseball team travels, they're going coast to coast, different places. They all of a sudden have to land, play a late night game, go to sleep, and then do the same thing the next day. And how do you make sure that you're at your peak performance? Athletes and military are similar, that if you don't get great sleep, there's more injuries, there's more mistakes. And if you can reduce that significantly with better sleep, you can be a sleep coach for people.
So you were able to achieve those results with the military. You said being in the rack. So being in the rack for 4 hours, you were able to give them the equivalent essentially of 6 to 8 hours of sleep. And that translated to more accuracy on the battlefield in their jobs, whatever mission they were performing. That became true and proved. It was proven.
Yes. So
Wow.
it's actually, when you think about it, they're flying billion-dollar airplanes. We're putting a lot of trust in a young soldier's hands, depending on what they're doing. And so the military actually is very slow to get to there, but they finally discovered that, hey, if we actually can measure whether they're ready to perform, then we can have a sense on whether they're going to perform well in the field when we send them out. And long time, they didn't really care about sleep. It's actually the work of Alison Breger in particular has done a lot of work on making sure that the military understands that if you are sleep deprived, you are not going to perform as well. And so the combination of, we worked with drone pilots, we did a study, we did active soldier readiness studies, sort of numerous ways in which we sort of proved the efficacy of being able to have better sleep, mostly using temperature manipulation to improve sleep outcomes and improve that readiness score as they go into whatever they're about to do.
That's incredible that you were using temperature in particular. And I've heard Todd say at one point that I think he put it like this, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was men that get older say they need to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. But most of the time they don't actually need to go to the bathroom. It's a temperature issue. Can you help unpack that, please?
Yeah. So when you're asleep, your body actually puts out a hormone that prevents you from getting up and needing to go to the bathroom. That's, when you get potty trained and you can sleep through the night, that hormone is basically trained that when you're in deep sleep, you don't need to go to the bathroom. But deep sleep, in particular, the first half of the night, your core body temperature is trying to drop 2 degrees. And 2 degrees doesn't sound like a lot until you think about what is 2 degrees hot running a fever feels like. It's pretty different for your body. 2 degrees can mean a big difference. And so if your body doesn't drop that 2 degrees, it basically doesn't get deep sleep. And it really only wants to do that in the first half of the night. Even though you go through these cycles, you'll see the cycles of deep sleep, REM sleep, light sleep. That is much more prevalent to have deep sleep in the first half of the night. And so if you go to bed at the wrong time, away from your usual, whatever your body's used to, because of jet lag or whatever, staying up late, just having fun, you're going to lose deep sleep. How do you get deep sleep despite making sure that you're not too hot? You just need to have your bed be cooler. And really, that was really what the Chili Pad was about. We didn't design it that way. We actually just were doing it for comfort. The science actually came out as we developed the product. So you figure the original patents for Chili were filed in 2008. And a lot of the science I'm talking about has really come out in the last sort of 10, 15 years. So we were really just early. And it turns out that being able to do that, we were able to really lean into the science. The sleep switch, as coined by Clifford Sapir out of Harvard, not by me. You can Google sleep switch by him. But it is triggered by temperature change. And when it does that, it releases melatonin naturally. And that's how you actually get to sleep. And that's what tells you it's time to get deep sleep.
I was trying to describe this to another Tara, my wife, Tara, last night. She said, "What's the science behind taking a hot shower before you go to bed?" And I was explaining it in this way. I said, whenever you take a hot shower, your body's internal cooling mechanism activates.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, it gets you to a cooler state quicker, and your body has to cool down in order to sleep. Tell me where I went wrong there. How would you explain that more scientifically and more accurately?
No, that's actually very accurate. However, I will say that it depends on the individual whether that hot shower will work. So as we found with like our athletes, if you've been drinking, your metabolism will make your body heat be hotter. So adding more heat to an equation that's already probably too hot isn't necessarily going to help, but applying cold to that is actually going to be more effective. But there's a huge range. We're all a spectrum of people. So, a petite female that tends to run cold, even putting socks on may be enough to help warm her up a little bit. And she's gonna have a blip. So instead of going straight cold, she's going to need to get warmer and then get cold, those 2 degrees. But then, our NFL linemen we've worked with, they're not going to like a hot shower. So it's one of those where it's really important to know like where you fit on that spectrum. I will say that even Tim Ferriss, Terry Walls with MS. A lot of people have done it. It's not awesome, but 20 minutes in an ice bath will put you to sleep almost no matter what. So that extreme part of reducing that core body temperature is sort of proven out in the most extreme cases. If you can drop that core body temperature after 20 minutes in the ice bath, you'll feel pretty like oxygenated coming right out of it. But within an hour, you're going to want to go to sleep like elephant tranquilizer. So if you need a reset, there's been studies that'll reset your circadian rhythm. If you're having a hard time falling asleep, you can actually use that to jumpstart and basically like resetting your computer. It will reset your circadian rhythm by doing that. Even just
How
one
cold?
time.
How cold do you have to get the ice bath? I know a lot of them are around 39, 40 degrees. Do you have to get it down that cold?
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Otherwise, you're just in kind of
not fun.
a cool bath.
Yeah, it helps sell a lot of chili pads whenever I said that. Or you could just sleep cold all night, and that generally helps. So yeah, either way, but the ice bath is really special. I can't say enough. The resetting, that hot, cold, extreme temperature is really magical for how it resets the body.
I'm surprised to hear you say that the ice bath or the cold plunge can help reset your circadian rhythm.
Yes.
What's going on there?
Yeah, it's the temperature part. So when you think about your brain, and oftentimes, like if I'm giving a talk, I'll put this really ugly little marine worm up there. But at the most basic level, our temperature regulation mechanism hasn't evolved or changed very much from this little, like very small marine worm that is regulated by temperature and light. And so when you look at our brainstem and the old part of our brain that is not evolved, it can actually bypass the prefrontal cortex. So when we worked with veterans with PTSD and you look at someone's sleep patterns with PTSD, they're all in REM sleep. They have a really hard time getting deep sleep. You can sort of force that by using temperature as a way to say, it's okay, it's time to go to sleep. But that reset happens at sort of a global level when you do the ice baths, which is why your immune system, it actually jumpstarts more than just your circadian rhythm, but you'll find a boost in your immune system. You'll find a lot of improvements even in your cardiovascular health by doing it regularly. But the immediate fix, even like my son with ADHD will pop in an ice bath when he's having a hard time focusing, and it brings it all right back. It's a really powerful, if not very uncomfortable and not fun tool, but it's a tool that really works.
Matt Smith with Snooze Mattress and Wellness is the guy behind the ice bath for me, and for a lot of people in the industry. He's super passionate about the cold plunge and about the effects it has on the body and the brain, and just it's saying to the world, I'm in charge. I'm going to slow my breath. I'm going to have this moment. And then, of course, all the health benefits are really cool. And then he's been the first domino that tipped that got a lot of people involved. We're all on board on some level to some degree.
Yeah, and if you want more information on it, Andrew Huberman, on sort of when you force your body to do something that's difficult, your mind wraps itself around it. And if you do an ice bath where you're stage gating your brain to sort of, as you said, different mindfulness of like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to beat this, I'm going to change. When you force change in your brain, it unlocks a dopamine rush, and it really changes sort of all of your levels. So all of those hormone levels, all those good hormone levels, it is actually, again, back to that sort of reset. If you've been riding a wave because you're Netflixing or TikToking or whatever, all of those things that kind of build it, and then it's like it's hard to get a good new dopamine high. This will help reset that.
All right, everybody go do the cold plunge right now. We want to hear back from you. We're talking with Tara Youngblood, the founder, the visionary in the mattress industry and beyond of Geli Sleep. I gotta ask you about Geli because it's really built around this whole topic we're talking about, which is temperature and sleep. And my gosh, I mean, when you break it down, it seems like light and temperature are the two big contributing factors to sleep. And just like you've described, if you can control the temperature of the body, I mean, that's doing all kinds of things that we don't even know about. So, okay, help us understand Geli Sleep. I said it in the very beginning, like 1,000 times more gel than a standard gel mattress. So more gel equals better sleep, more comfort. Is that where this is trending?
Yes. So I'm going to use a sort of a physics term, but when you think of a heat sink, that's really something that pulls heat off of something. So you have a heat sink in your laptop or your computer that pulls heat off of your CPU so it can run and do what it's supposed to do. You have a radiator on your car that pulls the heat off of the engine so that your car can run properly. You are an engine. We are a high performance human engine. I like to think of myself as a race car because I do like fast cars. But if you think about it in terms of how much heat you put off, you are putting off heat the whole night. And so when you climb under the covers and you insulate yourself, you're basically like, when you put bread in an oven, you're packing yourself in and you're at 98 degrees Fahrenheit. You are just creating a nice little oven for yourself. And like we just talked about, if your body wants to be 2 degrees colder, it's struggling to figure out how to do that once you're nice and comfy under those covers, because it feels good to have them on. And I even like weighted blankets, so you put that extra weight on. But the heat has to go somewhere. And so, when you talk about some of the PCM and the covers that are cool to your touch, they still have to pull off enough heat in order to mitigate that 2 degrees of core body temperature. And depending on your size and metabolism, that's a lot of heat. That's a lot of watts of heat. And again, watts is most often translated into like light bulb power and things like that. But it's really the amount of energy that your body is putting off. And so that has to go somewhere. So that's why we'll stick our leg out to cool off, flip the covers off. We'll move around a lot, toss and turn. Those are all the ways in which we sort of mitigate that. A lot of the mattresses, like memory foam, unfortunately absorbs heat. So if you have memory foam, which feels really good to sleep on, everyone loves how it feels, but it does absorb the heat, like a latex or some of those, whether it's natural or synthetic. Actually, they don't absorb the heat quite as much as memory foam. They don't hold on to it the same way. So what's in your mattress does make a difference. And that's really where we've leaned into with Geli, is water in particular. And you think about water around the planet is an amazing source of absorbing heat. So if you've ever watched a lake in an early morning where it's cold outside, but it's been hot all summer, that sort of September when you get the steam coming off the lake because the lake has absorbed all that heat and it holds onto it. The water in the gel for Geli is doing that. And so that's why 1,000 times more gel is important. So those little flecks of gel really only add up to maybe 10 pounds of gel in the most gel-filled mattresses out there. But it's not enough to absorb all of the heat that our body puts off. It's going to feel cool for the first little bit, but it is not going to last all night. And it's certainly not going to contribute to that 2 degrees cooler that you need to get to. And that's the equation that I think the mattress industry really needs to start to wrap its head around, is our bodies want thermal neutral to cool to be able to sleep. And if the mattress builds up heat underneath us and we don't have a way to mitigate that or move that heat away, it's contributing to us not being able to sleep. And so even if we're out sleeping, we're probably tossing and turning and we're probably not getting the deep sleep. And as we get older, that is much harder to get that deep sleep. So as we age, if we have any underlying diseases or conditions, even like PTSD, as I was talking about, all of those make it harder to get deep sleep. So if you have anxiety, any of those sort of things, if you drink alcohol, you get hot and you're going to make it harder to get to sleep. So the more your mattress can do for you, because back to the introduction, I really want sleep. I want to just show up in bed because I've had a long day and I really, try to do all the right things, but I want to show up and climb into bed and I want that bed to be comfortable and facilitate the best sleep without me having to sort of think through, well, I did drink a bunch. I enjoyed bourbon or whatever it was, and now I'm hot and I'm going to have a hard time sleeping tonight. What am I going to have to do to fix that? I don't want to have to think about that.
Yeah. So in terms of the science behind what Geli Sleep does, I think I heard the term used at one point, thermal mass.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to Todd about it, and he said something that really stood out to me, but I want to put some more definition around the analogy. He said, if every human being on planet Earth, all of us got into the ocean, would we heat up the ocean? And the answer is no. We wouldn't heat up the ocean because we don't put off enough heat for it to change the temperature of the ocean. I mean, it's kind of a simple concept. It's kind of like
if you packed a swimming pool full of people, you would heat up that swimming pool, just like we've all been in an auditorium or even a gym where they don't manage the temperature really well. And all of a sudden you pack a whole bunch of people and you're like, oh my God, it's so hot in here. And they haven't adjusted the air conditioning for the mass of the people that are in there. We do put off a fair amount of heat. And so that is where jelly is a very magical number. So it is a very specific amount of gel that I put in there. It is to manage the thermal load of a human being. And that you'll see the jelly bed is adjustable for firmness and softness on either side, but those tubes are for each person. And they are designed to pull the heat off of an individual. And that is very specific math and equations that were done to sort of mass this total amount of wattage that can come off of a person, even taking in the side cases of drinking or high metabolism or even high weight. A lot of people that are heavy, there's a bunch of them in my family, and they get hot. They get really hot. In addition to that, they have high pressure point issues. And so when you think about what causes a bed sore is heat and friction. And so if you're building up heat in the bed, all of those joints that you wake up and you're like, oh, wow, I just kind of hurt a little bit. If you have arthritis, those sort of things, the heat is going to contribute to that hurting. And so the fluidity of the beads and jelly is less fluid than water. So it creates that sort of space so it can pull off the heat. And it doesn't create sort of the waterbed sloshiness. I think I said Todd's uncle invented the waterbed. So slept on waterbeds. They're really great at pulling heat off if you never had a heater on it. But this is a really interesting hybrid of using the gel to basically create that cervical spinal alignment, making sure everything's in the right place, still supporting it, but not allowing that heat and friction to build up underneath you and around you. So you can sleep cool and not have any sort of those hot sore spots that happen a lot of times with some of the cheaper beds that you can get. The Amazon foam beds are pretty quick to have hot spots and sore spots.
Let's talk about some of the BS in the industry, because there's been a lot of talk over the years about cooling mattresses and gel beads and PCM and on it goes. And I think it's kind of funny because, the cooling wars have been going on for a while now. I think a lot of that was a result of memory foam sleeping hot and then memory foam trying to fix the problem that it was causing with different applications. So is there science behind this? Like I kind of like this visual or this idea of being able to explain it to the average consumer. Like if you have a little like whoopee cushion full of water and like you sit on it for a while, the water is going to get hot inside the whoopee cushion. But if you have, a giant, a mattress sized whoopee cushion with all kinds of gel inside of it, that mass is not it's going to absorb the heat from your body and it's going to hold it out there. It's not going to be something that just heats up over time, right? And then your body gets hot. And that's what a lot of these products do. Like it's maybe cool to the touch, but it heats up after a while and then you're hot. So Geli Sleep has science behind it. It's different, right?
Yeah. So your PCMs, are going to work a little bit more where it's like your wicking t-shirts or your like cooling sheets. Again, no one ever wore an Under Armour wicking t-shirt and then didn't sweat when it was 104 degrees out. Like it just doesn't work. It's not designed to handle that kind of capacity. Even fans and all those sort of things, you're looking at minor differences in what it is. We don't just use fans anymore for the same way because it'll create some evaporation. And then again, that's what you're kind of feeling when you touch your PCM. It's similar to an evaporative cooling. You apply the pressure, you get the cool, but then all that cool is gone. When you release it, you can get that cool back, but it's about capacity. And I think you really sort of nailed it if it's a little tiny whoopee cushion size. If you're putting little flecks of gel in, that is the equivalent of like putting snowflakes when they first start falling very, beautifully, and they just melt on whatever they fall on. And then all of a sudden you get a foot of snow and it doesn't melt. But your little snowflakes, they melt on everything they touch. And your gel beads in your mattresses, those flecks are basically they're full on capacity that almost within minutes of you laying on it. Your broader gel where you may have a little more gel, even sort of gel pillows where they have that slick part of gel. that amount of gel is still going to overheat. And for most of them, the max one that I've calculated is about 4 hours, which is still like you're nowhere close to getting to the end of your night. Unless you're one of the military guys, and then I guess you're up in 4 hours and you're shooting off. But even still, it's not enough. It's just not enough capacity. And we actually had an early conversation with a mattress executive, and I won't say who they were because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. But their biggest argument against Geli is like, but we have to acknowledge the broken promise. We have to acknowledge that we have been lying to the consumers about cooling anything. None of the products out there are really cooling. Even if they feel cool to the touch, it's not going to be impactful for sleep. We're not mitigating heat. We're being slightly cooling like those wicking t-shirts. You're not going to cool your Ferrari engine by putting a Under Armour t-shirt on it and hope your engine does okay. It's just not going to be the way it works.
I would say that we could position it differently, though. I mean, I would challenge that executive a little bit and say, hey, what about just creating, simply it's a good, better, best, and this is the ultimate. You want a little bit of cooling, here's where you go. If you want the ultimate in cooling, if you do want that Ferrari of cooling, then this is how it works, and this is where you have to go in order to get that. So I think there's an opportunity not to cannibalize your existing business and do something to position it at the high end.
No, I think it's actually it's perfect timing to start to have a real conversation, because before you couldn't say it doesn't work that great because there wasn't an option to push people to that really desperately needed it super cool. There wasn't a place for that. And I think that, leads into the other very different approach I want to do with Geli. And, we'll talk about how we're launching it Vegas, but I actually brought this up when I talked at the Sleep Summit, is mattress stores are perfectly positioned to be experts in sleep, to have real conversations with their customers on sleep and really help them to sleep better and become community service vehicles for how we can get people to sleep better. And so, part of the Geli approach is I am absolutely going store to store kind of thing. Sort of the first dealers to sign up, I am going to go and show up and do sleep talks and make sure that your staff are trained and that your community has a chance to come. And because when I give sleep talks, it is really amazing how little the average consumer knows about even just any kind of sleep. You talked about ice baths and all the tools that we know about, but most people don't know about all the tools that are out there, even just simple mindfulness and how to reduce stress in their day, how to be better. And so, I think that the Geli partnership of how do we partner with dealers to make sure that they are really well positioned to sell this, as well as really good sleep.
What a great way to bring people into the store and make the conversation about the purpose behind the products that we sell. And I think that's a big disconnect in our industry that, I've had to kind of wrap my mind around. I think we can be an industry of promotions and purpose. And whenever people connect those dots, especially on the sales floor, like you talked about, whenever a consumer gets a little bit of education or a nudge in a positive direction from that sales professional that they're dealing with, average tickets go up because people start saying, oh my gosh, this is not just a piece of furniture. This is the object on which I will spend more of my life than any other object. I should probably invest in that. And the knowledge that somebody's able to impart and they connect it to the mattress, my gosh, that could be life-changing for somebody. And when you think about the trajectory of that person over time. So, okay. So how do you get Tara to the store, by the way? How do I, if I'm an owner out there, just invite you, sign up for a program?
We are going to be in the GigaCloud booth. So we're going to market with GigaCloud as our partner, and their showroom space is 8610. But, that is, the first 20 dealers that show up and sign up. We will be, I will show up whichever store you want to go to. There's sort of that base promotional setup, but I will come and help with getting people in your store. They are nearly desperate for that sleep information. And I do believe that if mattress stores, there is a huge market niche that's missing on sleep solutions for something we do spend a third of our lives and the impact that sleep has on our health and well-being. And I think that the world and society is finally catching up to like, ooh, this sleep thing actually is really important. There is a market niche that is really important for mattress stores to fill. I think, you look at even Lululemon, how they have demonstration spaces in their stores and how it sort of created that cult following of being able to go, and because you saw your instructors wearing and using the products, how does this work? How do I have this as part of my life? There's a huge space for community involvement, and you see the stores that are really successful, they do community stuff. They're not just sort of waiting for someone to come in the door. They're outreaching, they're doing activities, they're making sure their customers are lifetime customers, not just a one-time buy and move on.
A question came up a few months ago, and somebody said, "What are you seeing from the people out there who are doing well?" And I said, "It's easy. They're very involved in their communities, and their business is growing." Instead of just sitting in your own four walls and hoping that people are going to walk in the door. And I love it whenever you have a product that's differentiated, that's demonstrable, and something that you can create some marketing around that would tie to the effects of sleep that you're trying to teach people about. So I love that you're able to, potentially sign up, get Tara out there to your door, and then make it about something that's purpose filled. By the way, you said the GigaCloud showroom in Vegas, but I don't remember hearing the building. Is it A, B, or C? Do you know?
Ooh, I did not take that into my notes, so I may have to follow up with you on what that is.
You know what? We'll do some real time Googling here. So I'll do
There you go.
GigaCloud,
While
Las
you're doing
Vegas
that,
market.
I'll say that, millennials, I can share the article afterwards, but millennials are trending towards wanting to do in-store activities. I think they grew up with everything being online, and there's trends that are showing that there is a push back to in-store experiences, but they really are looking for that experience economy kind of thing where it's not just a transaction. They're looking when there is an experience as part of that transaction. If there's a purpose to that, they are definitely leaning into that sort of experience, not just online. So I think there's a lot of room to create that community. Your customer journey is, we've talked about it at the Sleep Summit, but it is really important to understand how they get to your store. Why are they looking for that new mattress? A lot of times there's some pain point or something that's driving them there. And if you can show that you can meet that pain point, not just on a transactional level, but in purpose and experience, you can have that customer come back. You can have them recommend you. They can be part of your broader family of community.
What's a way to do that? I mean, give us some of the nitty gritty. If you're going to create some sort of experience, let's say using Geli Sleep, and maybe you have other products, what are some of the things that you would say ahead of time to onboard that customer into hearing you when you say, "I've got something really cool"? Is that how you're going to kind of promote it? Like, we want you to see this. If you're in the market for better sleep and you want to see something amazing, come in here, and then you create the in-store experience.
I would actually just like, if you're curious and you're not a great sleeper and you want to learn more about sleep, the fundamentals of having coach sleep, having sort of broken sleep down. I have the 3 pillars of sleep that I talk about, where it's behaviors, mindset, environment. So it's not just about the products. When I give a talk, like I gave one a few weeks ago, actually, just locally, it was a fair amount of like just older women, menopausal women that are, even if they slept great, they're no longer sleeping great. There was a smattering of people with some back pain and other issues, a bunch of people that really wanted to get off Ambien. So if you kind of look at that sort of demographic, they were all seekers for better sleep. And so when you look at people seeking better sleep, they're happy to spend the money. All of them, my pillow wasn't ready. It was supposed to be ready. It's going to be ready for Vegas, which is good. It's on the water right now. But I could have sold all of them on the spot. Yes, I'll just take one of those. And actually, I've been tracked down, and I've been tracked and stalked on Facebook by at least half the people that came. And there's a room of 60 people of like, when is that going to come out? When is that going to happen? How are we going to do that? And, again, the collection of that and the interest in fixing it, the purpose of having a pillow and a mattress is absolutely we can get them in addicted to sleeping on the pillow. You get all of their customer information. When you can crush it and they don't have to flip that pillow anymore, they will be back for more things.
You don't have to flip it to the cooler side of the pillow because both sides of the pillow are super cool all the time. By the way, I want to make sure that people understand what this product is from a construction standpoint and how it gets set up. I mean, is it something that you put water inside once you get it into your home?
Yeah. So let me do it with the pillow first, because that obviously is, I was just talking about sort of the way you get someone in the door. So the pillow is actually pretty unique in its own. There's a whole trend towards adjustable pillows, of having different heights of pillows. So you can have side sleepers and stomach sleepers and back sleepers all have a pillow, and then be able to adjust the fluff or oomph. You'll see it online. So when we added the layer of cooling, we have it pretty adjustable. So we do have like our PCM cooling cover side. We also have a spacer mesh side. So if you really want that cool right next to your head, there's a little bit of extra, and spacer mesh is pretty cool. It pops it up. It's kind of like, when you put a washcloth in an ice pack, the ice pack itself is too cool. So you need a little bit of insulation. So you can have that right there on the spacer mesh, or you can build it and have it higher or lower in the stack, but it has shredded memory foam. We needed that for structure to get sort of that base height. The layer of polyfill, and all of those have zippers and adjustable, and even an L-shaped zipper so you can put it in. But when you get that pillow home, you will have an insert. And then you have the beads. Now the beads sound messy, but just like Tide laundry detergent or your dishwasher detergent, there's a dissolvable plastic. So you literally, the beads are all in that plastic. You don't need to talk to them or do anything with them. You pop them in. For the pillow, it's 1 gallon to 1.5 gallons of water, depending on how squishy or firm you want that. And the beads just magically absorb the water. So it's actually kind of fun when you fill it up the first time you put the water in, you're like, ooh, it's slushy. I don't know. But literally like within an hour, it's usually minutes, but I'll say within an hour. So it's fully absorbed that. It'll turn into this sort of really like Jello. It'll turn into like a Jello kind of substance. So it's soft and you can sink into it. It sort of wraps around you on your head. And again, you can put that wherever you want. Some people may find it too cold, so they may want the polyfill layer plus the other layers on top. But if you're like my menopausal women, they were excited because you can take the insert, you can put it in the fridge if you want it super cool, and then you can put it in your bed if you want to supercharge that ice cold, or if you're someone that gets migraines, that also feels, as someone that gets migraines, it also feels really amazing to put that and sleep on that if your head's really hurting. But if you just want regular room temperature, it stays cool all night, just doing that too. So that's how the pillow works. And then the bed is pretty similar. It's in a shippable box. Actually, I think we shipped one it's about 70 pounds, your regular shippable box. The only difference, it comes with these tubes. And so each of the tubes, when they're full of water, weighs about 20 pounds. So you fill the tubes. It has a nice little gauge on it, actually. So it shows soft or firm, depending on how much water you put into it. Again, you pop the beads in, you add the water. The beads will only absorb to the amount of water you put in. So the water basically adjusts your firmness for you. You don't have to do anything with it. But if you want your side super firm and your wife wants it squishy, or vice versa, or whoever your sleep partner is, you can do that on the tubes, just fill it up that way. And then you basically just zip the cover close and you're good. And 10 years later, you still have an amazing mattress, because those springs and those gel, they don't compress like foam. It's not going to disappear. It's not going to stop supporting you after year 2 or year 3. It's just going to feel amazing.
So it does have durability. That's interesting. That was one of the questions I had on my list, was like, how long is this going to last? Now, before I forget, also the other question was about filling up. I like the process. Number one, it sounds actually kind of fun. It's like, oh, I get to fill up my pillow and I get to personalize it a little bit. But these bladders, I guess you could say, that go in the side of the mattress, you actually take them over to the sink, for example, and you fill them up in the sink and then you carry them back.
Yep.
So you're not having to run a hose into your
Not like that.
bath.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, the perk of being very familiar, and I know you interviewed Charlie Hall, Todd's uncle. Yeah, having been really close with waterbeds, there's a lot of amazing things about waterbeds, but filling them was not one, and emptying them was not one. Being able to move it, change it, how you manage weight, all of those things were really difficult. So we don't have as much obviously weight as you would for like even a full water bed. And if you do need to move, you take your tubes, and the beads themselves are really they're just fun and cool, I have to say. But fun to squish in. But when you want to expel them, the beads were originally designed as soil hydration, and so when you put them, you can flush them down the toilet, or you can put them in your plants, which is all the testing we have. All of our plants have tons of the beads in it, but it'll stay hydrated, and eventually it'll evaporate, and the moisture will soak into the soil. So that was really designed to help crops in high drought areas stay moist, or if you're planting trees in places that are not very moist, it was designed to help make sure they had water longer. And so depending on the beads and the formula of the beads is how long it'll hold on to that water.
And so it's something that's biodegradable. It's like a product you
Just
put right back into the earth.
Just squish it out and put it in a planter, and you'll see them just sort of dehydrate back to their original beads. Although if you wanted to reuse them, you could put them in a bucket, eventually the beads will dehydrate back out. It takes a while for our beads because, again, we've used a formula of like sort of longer stability. But after a couple weeks in the bucket, they'll start to shrink down.
Very cool. Oh, by the way, I got the showroom number, the Giga Cloud showroom number. It's Building A.
Building A.
A is an
I love
apple.
A's.
A610.
Ooh, 610.
A610.
I had the 610 part. I'll have to blame my co-founder on that one. I got a little sticky note from him.
Well, I was thinking about it. I'm like, I think you said 8610.
Yeah, so I wonder if he
just misheard it. Yeah. The Building A, floor 6, A610. That's where Giga Cloud's going to be in Wondersign and Geli Sleep, which I'm super excited. I think we're going to have to get you on a fam cam.
Yes, let's do it.
Awesome. Well, okay. So Tara, thank you so much for, number one, just for your passion for sleep and dedicating yourself to these products. I know you got some stuff going on with bourbon as well. Okay. So we hate to take you away from your bourbon inventions, but we really need you in this category for true innovation. I'm so excited you're back. You're such an incredible team, you and Todd and everybody that you've built up around you. So thank you for all that you're doing to help everybody get a better night's sleep and for this, amazing new invention. I can't wait to feel it. I want to feel it. I want to test it.
Yes. Yeah. We have our mattress tester is, been in the mattress industry. He was head product designer for a mattress firm for a long time. And when he laid on, he's like, nothing else feels like this. This is one of a kind. And it really, part of it might be the inventor part, but when you hear the, kind of like, it was like that when we got to lay on our first sample. It's amazing when someone with bad hip pain gets up in the morning and says, actually, I don't hurt at all after sleeping on this versus my other mattress. I hurt every morning when I wake up. That's the why.
And I love it from a sales standpoint too, because whenever somebody comes in and there's a sea of fluffy white rectangles, they really don't know what's inside of a mattress. I mean, it's one of the reasons I feel like Purple has been able to translate over to retail. If they started out direct to consumer selling online and they've done quite well at retail, is because whenever you put your hand down on the buckling gel, you know that what you're seeing out here in the hand sample is what's inside of it. And it sounds like it's a very similar thing. Like you can demonstrate it, you can feel it, and you know that this is a material unlike anything else. And the hand sample out here, the visual out here is matching sort of that experiential feel that you're getting, hopefully not by just touching the mattress, but by lying down on it. So that's a really cool thing. It closes that loop in the consumer's mind, I think.
Yeah. And the way we have it zippable, again, we're all about sort of empowering the consumer. So even on the showroom floor, you can unzip it, have them touch it, have them feel it, have them see like it feels when you touch the sort of, again, room temperature water you're not going to climb into a room temperature bath. It's still pretty cold. That's 70 degrees. You don't want to You don't want to lay on that. You touch it and it's like, wow, this is pretty amazing.
So from a product launch standpoint or product pathway standpoint, you've got the pillow, you've got the mattress. Are there toppers? Is that part of the conversation already?
Yeah, so toppers will come. Probably the next round of products for this summer will be travel items. So we're all about sort of building ticket. I think it's the D2C background of like, okay, we got you in the door. What else can we sell you? Travel and hotel rooms is probably again, one of the biggest complaints we've heard in sort of our previous life of how do I travel. So we do have a TSA friendly travel version. Again, you can add the pellets, and because there's no water when you go through TSA, there's nothing to do and you just expel them. But there's a pillow and blanket for that. There'll be pet products. The patents are pretty broad, and there's a lot more coming down the pipeline.
Well, we can't wait to hear about it. Tara, thank you so much for being on the FAM podcast. Can't wait to see you at Vegas Market coming up here in just a few weeks. And everybody can go find you at the Giga Cloud Space A610, and they can go over the website's live, right?
Yep. GeliSleep.com.
And it's spelled with a G, Geli, sleep.com.
Yep. Like gel with an I.
Yeah, like gel beads.
Yeah.
And then when you get the products, people are going to be like, I'm jelly.
You're gelling.
Of what you have.
Yes, actually, I think we're working on it. I think Charlie will be in the Giga Cloud booth for at least some of the days. So we're bringing Groovy back.
I love it. I love it. And for those of you wondering, Charlie Hall is Tara's husband's Todd, his uncle. Yep. And Charlie Hall invented the waterbed. We have a podcast that Charlie and I did a little while back. So you can always go over to thefam.com and search for Charlie Hall, and it's going to pop up. You can listen to that incredible story. And it's so fun that this is a way to get Charlie back in the industry. And we look forward to seeing him in Vegas as well. Is there anything I missed?
I don't think so. This is pretty comprehensive for an hour.
Well, yeah, I look forward to seeing you out in Vegas. And in the meantime, best of luck. And head over to gelisleep.com to check out the products. And be sure to swing by A610 to feel it for yourself. Tara, thanks again for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.